that is the idea, that the fiscal policy is less used, it's costly, it's very difficult to get through Congress, and finally, it's slow. All right? So what does that mean? Well, what that means is that there are things called time lags. Now, this is true for anything in macroeconomics. Generally speaking, you don't know if we're in a recession today, because we know a recession is when GDP falls. But how do we know what GDP is? It takes months to learn what GDP was 3 months ago. The numbers have to be collected, they have to be statistically analyzed, and they have to be reported. And every once in a while, the government puts out a report that says GDP grew by 2% last year. And so part of it is that you have to recognize that we're in a recession. Now, this is true for anything. And this is not only for fiscal policy, but Congress needs to know there's a recession to do something about it. Next thing they have to do is implement. To implement or to put into practice what they want to do. And so the implementation lag means that the government has to meet. They have to write a bill. They have to negotiate. They have to argue. And they have to pass a bill. Not only does it take months to realize we're in a recession, it takes months to do something about it from a legislative point of view. And then this is what I call it, the third one is the effectiveness lag. And some books use different terms for this. But the idea is, suppose that Congress passes a bill and says, we're going to build a rail system. They have to negotiate it. They pass a bill. How long does it take to build that? First of all, they have to get the plans drawn. They have to buy the land. They have to put in the rails. They have to test everything. They have to build stations. That could take years. And so even if they know there's a recession, pass a bill to try and do something about it, a lot of these plans take a long, long time to actually get put into place. And so because recessions aren't that long, even the longest one that we've been through was technically over after a year and a half. All of these added up are longer than the recession. By the time the money gets spent, the recession's over. And so that's one other reason why fiscal policy is not so much used. Even if you can get the law passed, even if you're okay with borrowing the money, it still takes a long time to pass. And so that means that, generally speaking, fiscal policy is only used in crisis periods in the U.S. You'll see later that monetary policy is used continuously, where the authorities meet every 6 weeks. This is only during the times that we've either lived through or read about. That fiscal policy, in terms of expansion, is only for those crises.